Well, hey there, YouTube. It's Petey, and you just caught me in the kitchen with some circuitry. Now, don't ever say prototype. If you own a company or you're going to make your own stuff and you're going to make a bunch of them and sell them, maybe you could say prototype. But if you're just a guy and you build something and maybe you're going to build another one, or you just build, please, just don't say that, okay? So what we have here is the fruits of an evening's work. I'm in a foul mood. It's company Tayda. Shipped me, I bought two of these. They're $1.80. It's called a TPA 3110, 30 watt by 30 watt little amp. And as you can see, that heat sink is crooked. Now if you look at this one, the heat sink is not crooked. Let's take a look at this one. This is the one that I ordered two. I really only needed one, and I bought two, and I was working all day and I kept having problems. It was cutting out, it was popping, it wouldn't take certain signals, and I spent a lot of time and then I realized that the heatsink was wobbling around. So they used some kind of silicone paste or something to like glue this heatsink onto the little chip, and it was just dangling. So I'd never tried these TPA 3110s, and I wanted to try them because they're $2. They're about like $1.80 at Tayda, and they're rated at 30 by 2, and they're nice and big. The solder pads are big for like the power and this output speakers. Input are a little bit small. I like the bigger, more robust pads for soldering because I'm rough and I redo stuff a lot. Like if the heat sink's loose and I'm trying all kinds of different things. Anyway, special thanks to Gopti. She ran over to Goodwill this morning before her work and picked this up. Lost an acoustic sub for $2.99. I opened it up because, see, I had another one of these that was white. That's a little different model. And this one says acoustic magnetically shielded. Well, on the back of the subwoofer, they take another circular magnet of opposite polarity and glue it on there. That's the magnetic shielding company. I couldn't believe it. And I've seen these speakers before and I didn't know what they were. That's what that is. Anyway, it's a different model speaker, and it's not as heavy or robust as the reason why I sent her over there to get it. But that's my life, and then I got a bad amp. So yeah, Petey's in a bad mood. You know, like I said to my wife yesterday, I was like, I'm excited about this project because it's like, I know there isn't really anything that can let me down here, is what I thought. Guess again. Anyway, I read I was going to use JB Weld, which is an automotive epoxy. It's a two-part, real thick epoxy. It's sticky, gets on your fingers. You got to scrub it off. But that stuff dries like almost like a rock. It dries like real hard. You can file it. It takes like 24 hours to really dry, but it works if you want to permanently attach a heat sink. That's what I would recommend. And then today I was like, why don't I just use super glue? So I looked it up, and there's a guy who made a video. He tested it. The super glue performs just like thermal paste. So that means it transfers heat at about the same rate, or same, you know, it's good for transferring heat. He said, don't ever use it because you won't be able to remove the heat sink. Well, I could theoretically pour some acetone in there. Thank you very much, Kathy. Anyway, what we have here is not the prototype, because I would never say that. Seriously, can we not do that? Prototype? Are you fucking Henry Ford? Get the fuck out of here. Be honest to yourself first. Be honest to yourself. Petey needs to have a little refreshment before we go on. So, we got a couple of speakers. We got this 30 by 30 is what it's rated at. And I realize we're running it way. We'll say it's 3 watt amp. A bunch of power supplies and a 9-volt battery. We start off with this spring reverb unit. And we got this. This spring reverb unit. So what it is, there's an input which is 8 ohm and a 1.1K output. So I tried this in all different configurations, and the way that I got this to work best is going out of this transducer here. It goes in to this PAM 8610 Class D amp. So this runs on 12 volts. This transducer, there's an input and an output transducer. We're only using the output transducer. Is connected to the input. The output of that channel goes to the input of this spring tank. The output of this spring tank goes to the input of the second channel. This is 2 channels, the stereo amp. The output of that goes to the input of this echo unit, which goes to the input of this preamp, which goes to the input of the amp. Now I have the right and left channels bridged. Actually, that happens here on the front side of the preamp. And later on, I'm going to experiment with splitting it actively with JFETs, and I'm going to add 2 more echo PCBs. Now, these come with R27 installed. You remove R27, which is over here, and there's 3 pads to solder and 3 wires to hook up to your pot. Well, 2 of them are ground. So what I did, I installed 2 wires and then jumpered in between pins 2 and 3. And I also added a 1K resistor. Because if a PT2399, if you modify it and you power it up with the pot turned all the way down, it will lock up. It will cease to function. If you put that 1K resistor there. So you can control the volumes of these. And I'm thinking, I'm going to install all of this in a metal case, and I'm maybe going to cut a hole, an oval hole, so you can get at those springs and play them with a pick. As far as this spring, there is a DC motor in the vicinity. And then there is a solenoid, which I got to turn this down. It's this solenoid, and believe me, so I'm not going to bother my neighbors because it's but I am going to be adding two more echo units, and I'm going to use a bigger subwoofer speaker, and then I'm going to I have it's a vibration speaker that I'm going to try to connect to make it feedback on itself, and I'm going to run that through a filter, I think, a filter circuit. So it doesn't feedback real high, it'll feedback lower maybe, I don't know. And then you'll be able to but All this is going to be mounted in a metal box, and I'm going to have this as an optional speaker, the subwoofer, it'll maybe have that feedback thing, and then 2 more echo units. So this is not the prototype, this is the fruits of my first day of messing with this stuff. Initially it did not like to have stuff directly connected to the amp, so I added the preamp, and it was still disconnecting itself, and I don't know if that's because of that heatsink issue. That first amp was a dud, but tayda, shame on you. Anyway, I've got this super glued. We're going to see if this ends up to be a working unit. I'm going to be playing with all this. I've got basically this larger metal box, and it's a lock box, so the lock didn't come with the key. And it's got a weird tab, so I'm going to have to like file that tab down when the new lock comes with the key. Hopefully remove that tab and it'll fit on this other end. It's going to be messing around trying to get it to latch. But I'm going to cut a board and have that board fit in the bottom of this steel case and run some screws through the bottom of it. And that way I can mount all the battery packs and circuitry just to the board by running wood screws into the wood and not worry about shorting anything. So it's basically, you know, it's going to be like put the board in, figure out where the speaker's going to mount, figure out where the this is going to mount, cut 2 circular holes and then lines with the jigsaw, so I'll have an oval hole which will expose this in here so you can reach in with a guitar pick and make noise with these, playing with your fingers, or have the solenoid. And I mean, just the idea of being able to hit a button and get that noise to happen, that's really the impetus of this incredibly silly spring thing. Is going to be one of the collection of noise devices that I started doing this a long time ago, and I'm like, you know, I've got the Lease Violator, aka the Bad Idea. I've got the David Gilmour Sequel Machine. I've got the new K-Sook, and this will be another addition right in there. So when I get everything going all the way crazy, I can start hitting buttons on this and make crash and bang and boom and ghost noises. This, like, if you were to use this along with that the Mystic Spirit box. Do some ghosts in there with the sine wave. Ooh, and then very scary. So maybe I can haunt the place on Halloween. Maybe that's what I'll do. But I wanted to thank you guys. I wanted to let you know about the TPA 3110. It's $1.80 or $2. You can get it at tayda. But just check your heat sinks, and if they're loose, grab yourself a little clamp and some super glue, or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way and you've got time, go ahead and use the JB Weld Automotive Epoxy. If you are modifying these $3 Echo boards, don't forget to put a 1K resistor on leg 1 to avoid locking up. I do not recommend these. There's a little bit more expensive units. Are you falling asleep?
I'm fine. I'm showing
Okay.
them.
It looked like you were...
I'm showing the thing in your hand.
This, I'm not seeing, I'm seeing one chip. And I like the PT2399 Echo units that have at least 2 chips to do more active mixing, because you can get away with doing all the mixing passively or whatever, but to get a better sound quality, it's nice